Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, the best place for language teachers that are looking for ideas, tips, recommendations, suggestions for their lessons. And if you are an English teacher, it's very likely that you have students preparing for exams such as Cambridge, IELTS, Aptis, TOEFL, etc. Yeah, so I started preparing students for the big boy Cambridge. That's my specialization. But as the students have different goals, I had to adapt and start preparing them for other exams. So I had students, for example, taking the IELTS because they wanted to go to Australia or to Canada. And I had students taking the TOEFL because they needed for a university in the United States. And currently, as I'm living in Spain, it's very common to have students looking for Aptis, which is the British Council exam that is well accepted in the universities here. Yeah, but today I'm not here to talk about these exams specifically. So what I want to say is all the exams, they have a speaking part and usually composed by 4 tasks. And the news is that we can use these tasks as activities in our lessons, including for students that are not going to prepare for an exam. Yeah, so sharing my screen with you, I'm going to show you 5 activities that belong to exams, and they're actually very easy to prepare and very engaging, all right? Oh, and I'm married, by the way, because I forgot to say that. So yeah, the first one, I mentioned before that I'm currently living in south of Spain. So in Spain, there is an exam that is like a school called, well, I would say the translation would be like the Official School of Language, and they've got their own exam. So I know this is not going to be recognized, worldwide, but the ideas, the activities they've got are actually very interesting. So I picked one of them, and the name of it is Mediation. Right, so I'm going to show you exactly what my students see. So what we have to do here is, there is a task. So the task is usually something like, well, there is a friend of yours, they are coming to Spain, they need something important, but their Spanish is still very poor. And there are no translators or go around. Okay, so maybe the friend needs to open a bank account, or they need to do something important with a lawyer, or they just need something. And my student is the one that is going to give the information to the friend in English. All right, so it's not a translation. It's basically, look, this one, for example, we've got your friend Victoria has been living in Madrid for 2 months. She would like to give up smoking. She's quite worried about her health and physical appearance and doesn't want to gain weight. So she has found the information below, but her Spanish is still poor and has asked you to explain it to her. So obviously, if you teach French people, you are going to grab, to pick a text in French, or if it's German, and obviously you just have to adapt. But in my case, yes, as I teach Spanish speakers, my text is in Spanish. So what they have to do is, during the exam, I think the examiners give them 4 minutes to prepare, but it really depends on your student. If the student is a fast thinker and a fast reader, maybe you don't need to give them that much. So in my case, I use this with intermediate students, and sometimes, depending on the text, it can be an advanced student. And what I give them is about like 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, or 2 minutes, and I can go and grab some water meanwhile. And yeah, so basically with this task, I give them time to prepare, to take notes, to ask me questions if there is, if there are words that they don't know or they're not sure of, and then I just give them time for them to explain to me, in this case Victoria, what the leaflet is about or what the text is about, right? So in this case they can say, well, hi Victoria, be aware that it's not a translation, okay? It's just they have to put this in a context. So, oh, hi, Victoria, I'm very happy to see that you want to quit smoking. So I've read, and I got a leaflet. There are some nice tips that I can give you. So you could, I know that you are very worried, you're concerned about your weight. So maybe you can do more exercises, 2 hours per week, and this kind of stuff, okay? So no translation, just to put them in the real situation. And it's very nice, especially for synonyms. So instead of saying give up smoking, we are going to say quit smoking. So you can ask, apart from the speaking thing, you can ask for vocabulary, you can obviously work on pronunciation as always, and very natural conversation. Okay, so one of my favorite ones, really. There are other types of mediation, so you can do this for homework as well. So instead of oral, you can just give them the text and they have to do a mediation in English, a written mediation. So this is another very nice option. But yeah, this one is one of my favorites. Well, so the second activity belongs to IELTS and it's called the talk. So to be honest, it's a very easy, simple, easy to prepare activity. So basically, during the exam, examiners give the candidates a cue card. So this is like a topic card, they're going to find a topic and some questions about the topic. So as an example, I've got here, describe an event that you attended recently, and you should say what and what the occasion was, who were there, what happened, and describe how you enjoyed. So you are just going to give your student 1 to 2 minutes to prepare. During the exam, they give just 1 minute, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, you're just going to give your students 1 or 2 minutes. They have to take notes. Again, they can ask you questions, if they don't know answers, if they don't know words, sorry. And basically after that, they have to talk for 2 to 3 minutes. Obviously, you are not going to spend a whole hour, a lesson on this, but you can use this as a warm-up, or maybe you can talk about different topics, so I've got some examples here. So we can say, describe a long journey you went on. You should say where you went, and obviously emerging words are going to come up from this. And as always, as I always say, in my videos, one exercise can lead to other things. So if you want to spend a lesson there, you can, if you are going to start talking about vocabulary, talking about pronunciation, grammar, and all this kind of stuff. Usually what I do, I don't interrupt the students, okay? We always try to do code correction here. So I take notes of the mistakes, if they've got mistakes, and yeah, usually they do make mistakes. And after they finished, then we go through the mistakes together, okay? So usually I don't really go and say the mistake. What I do is I write the sentence with the problem and I ask them, so what's the problem here? What is wrong here? So it's a bit of, they can think, I just don't give them the answer. I ask them and they can, figure it out by themselves. Well, so the third activity I would like to recommend you to use is task 2 of the C1 advanced Cambridge exam. So I have to admit, I'm a big fan of Cambridge exams and I use this a lot. So you can adapt to, the level of your students. So it depends on the photos that you're going to choose. It depends on the questions you're going to ask. But basically, C1 students, advanced students, what they have to do is they're going to be given 3 photos. They have to choose 2 of them and they have to answer 2 questions about the photos, comparing the photos at the same time. So it's not a description, right? Well, of course, they are going to describe a bit, when they are talking about the photos, but that's not the main goal. So the main goal is to answer, for example, look, we've got these 3 photos there, and the question number 1 is how easy might it be for people to find what they're looking for if they organize stuff, in the way that we see in the photos, and how practical is it to store things in these ways. So let's say that we are talking about first and second. So a student can say, well, the first one is very practical, it's very easy to find the things they were looking for because everything is organized, and while in the second one is very messy. So if you need to find a book, for example, you're not going to be able to do it. So you see, comparing the 2 photos, so using this while, whereas, or in the first photo, while in the second photo, or in the third photo. So compare by answering the questions, and they do have a minute, just a minute to do that. So they have to be fast thinkers, So that's another nice thing, because in real life you don't really have time to prepare for the things you are going to say. So I really like these exams that you don't really have any time, you just have to go, just look at it and go, right? So after this, usually in the exam, there are 2 candidates taking the exam together. So one candidate is going to be talking about the photos, and then the examiner is going to ask a follow-up question to the another candidate. So obviously, I don't have another candidate in my camera if I'm teaching privately, 1-to-1. So I just ask the student, I give the student another name. So if they're called Juan, I'm going to call them Pepa, Pepita, or Carmita, or something like that. And I'm going to say, well, now the follow-up question is, if you had to do something similar, what would you do? So basically just anything that comes up, related to the topic, right? So it's nice because they do have to think very fast and they have to have critical thinking. Some photos are a bit difficult, so it depends on the level. You can choose different topics. So my fourth recommendation for today is task 1 of the TOEFL exam. So to be honest, it doesn't get any easier than that. The preparation, basically, you just have to find some topics that the student can agree or disagree. But usually, the exercise is very simple, but the topics are a bit complex and loads of things can come out, from this discussion. So look, some people enjoy taking risks and trying new things. Others are no adventurers. They are cautious and prefer to avoid danger. Which behavior do you think is better? Explain why. So give your student 30 seconds, 1 minute, whatever you prefer, for them to prepare, and then they can just talk. They can just give their opinion. So obviously, if it's an advanced student, you are going to expect advanced vocabulary. So I strongly agree on, this kind of stuff. So you can do loads of them if you want. Again, you can do this as a warm-up. So look, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? People should be fine when they do not wear masks during a pandemic. Be sure to use details during your response. So if you want to keep talking about the topic, you can just ask questions, and just go further, just look into the topic together with the student, or basically just use it as an icebreaker or a warm-up, or the way you can use it the way you prefer. Well, and last but not least, we've got task 4 of the Aptis exam, so the long run. So Aptis is quite new compared to the other exams, but it's developed by the British Council, and it's actually becoming a big thing here in Spain, because some students don't want to prepare for Cambridge or Trinity, so they go for it. So I do have quite a lot of students preparing for it at the moment. Basically, they are going to show students a photo, the candidates a photo, and photos are usually about, hobbies, or showing hobbies, family things, or celebrations, or food, basic stuff. And they are going to give the students 3 questions. So the student has to prepare for like 1 minute, and they have to talk for 2 minutes about the questions, but not in the way, they don't have to be like, well, question number 1, question number 2. They have to do like a presentation. So tell me about a special moment in your life. How did you feel? What moments are special in people's life? It's very common for students to make the mistake when exams ask them, tell me about a special moment, and they go like, well, there are loads of special moments in my life. So no, you have to, let the student aware that you are asking for one. You just want to know one situation, a specific situation, okay? And again, if the student is very basic, you can choose like an easy photo, but at the same time, if they're very basic, if you say 2 minutes, this sounds like an eternity. So adapt this to your student, to the level of the student, and they're going to talk. You can do 2 or 3 photos in a lesson, or again, as always, you can just use it as a warm-up, or at the end of the lesson for a bit of practice, and that's it. And they really like it because they can see the answers there. So if they forget, they can just go to the question and look at it and try to, recover. Or otherwise, if they can just write bullet points to present this to you, it's amazing. Okay, so I really like it. Very nice one. And that's it for today, my dear teachers. So I hope you find today's suggestions useful. If you like my videos, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification button because I always forget to ask you to do that, and give me a thumbs up and a comment, right? Happy teaching!